Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Ballogy. Manage and measure your players' skill development and increase accountability year-round utilizing the Ballogy app. Boost inter-squad competition with drills backed by the National High School Basketball Coaches Association, including a 40-shot Ballogy skills assessment. Please visit ballogy.com/teams for information on how you can provide this resource for your team. This is super unique, the timing of our talk, because just recently getting the Melissa job. I mean, you're leaving a school that you said you're at 9 years as the head coach, but how long overall? Were you there just 9?
So I was there 9 total. I was 6 years head coach.
Okay.
I've been here 6 years as head coach. Yeah, so
but I mean, a decade, so like you're a part of an established culture.
Sure.
And then now you're taking over a program where obviously if people don't know, like Melissa basketball, like in the past, they've done some amazing things. I'm thinking of Hondo Webb and all those guys that used to play legacy, coach. Legacy. They've got a great basketball legacy. So you're coming in with some of the things that you like. How does the culture drive performance in a program?
Oh my goodness. So it's funny because if you asked me this question when I first started being a head coach 6-7 years ago, whatever, I would say that, you have talent and you have culture, and, you have to have both in order to be successful, but if your talent is really good, your culture is really bad, you might win some games, but you're not going to win those tough games, Let's flip it. If the culture is really good and your talent's really, really bad, you're going to have a great culture, but like even some games you play, you're not going to win as much. When I use this past season we just had as an example, like I've had teams that are way more talented overall, and players know that. I tell them all the time, but at the same time though, because the culture was so firm with these guys and so strong with them, that we won a lot of close games against teams that, people looking at us getting off the bus, looking at us on paper, you wouldn't have thought we would have won, And so when I look at things like that, that's the first thing you pour into, Yes, kids are going to do skills. You can get them to do skills, shoot shots, do drills that you want them to do and everything. But it's really about like, what can I do to, benefit the whole, And so the culture piece is really just trying to make sure that, and I know you didn't ask me about pillars, but 4 pillars for me is just like, number one, being extremely dependable. The second one is being authentic. The third one is being tough, and together. And that's the big thing. And so, and the key phrase we say is everybody eats. So E.A.T., extremely dependable, authentic, and together, And so when that comes into play, when you're extremely dependable, everything that we talk about kind of goes back to that culture, If you don't show up to practice on time, well, you weren't dependable. So how can I depend on you to be on help side when I'm getting blown past, I can't depend on you to get the shots in that you need to get, And so things like that drive it. Authenticity piece, like I talked about, if you can't be real with me, then I can't be real with you. And so as a coach, you want to model that by being transparent. I talked to him about, me having, a strong belief in Christ. I talked to him about me having flaws as a man, as a person, as a husband, as a father, So the more authentic and transparent you can be, it really kind of drives that too. And then being together, is just showing them you're a person more so than a basketball coach. I don't want them to look at me as Coach Friar, the coach. I want them to look at me as, Coach Friar, the person. I'm a basketball coach, as far as that's secondary to me being a person first. So, but yeah, I think culture is so big on driving that performance, because like when you get them to really, build that relationship up and then get them to really respond to everything you're doing, then those results will come after that. So yeah, I'm all in for, building that culture up.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You said early on about like maybe when we're starting out, when we're younger coaches, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's probably like 90% we focus on X's and O's and skill work. 10% of how they feel or how we show up or what the standards are. Because the idea is, well, if I can just make them good, then we can focus on those other things. But you're so right on the money. Like they go hand in hand, because they're never going to become as skilled or as good as they could be if the culture is not where it needs to be. So I think if I could go back and do it over again, starting as a younger coach, it would be valuing the relationship side and the culture side with players more than the skill.
100%. And I think that's what, looking back on everything, I told you about the weight room story and things like that. We started really pouring into the culture piece of it. It seemed like it was amazing how much the skills, grew exponentially. You know what I mean? And that's the great thing about it, is because like when they really see that you care about that and those little things like that, and really, pour into that more so than the X's and O's, then like they'll respond to the X's and O's after you build that relationship, and do all that type of stuff. But like you have to really pour into that culture piece first. And like you said, as a young coach, I mean, we're like, oh, X's and O's, I have to run this offense and do this and do that. And then you get in the game and it's a dogfight. Well, like, we're getting like, I mean, a hype play, we call it a hype play, like where a kid takes a charge or we get 3 stops in a row. And I'm looking down my bench and the bench is just like, okay, it's like a golf clap.
Golf clapping.
Like, basketball, And so we had to really put things in place to where like, hey, we're going to practice this and model this to where like kids are, I mean, regardless of what the score is, we're going to be up cheering and doing things and kind of building that culture up, and it just brings more juice and life to your program. So.
Coach, this isn't a trick question, but I'm going to ask it, and I'm going to try not to lead you. Is your culture ever set and like finished to where we don't really have to address it or work on it anymore?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it's fluid. I think culture is always evolving and always changing, because if you don't, I heard a quote, I can't remember what the quote was. It was something I was reading, but I think if you don't, if you don't like drive your culture, if you don't drive that, then, it's like a car with no steering wheel. Yeah. You have everything there, but like, you don't know which way it's going to go, And so you always have to make sure you're being intentional about driving that culture in the direction you want it to go. And culture, people say culture and they always think of like positive, but like culture also can be negative too, So you want to make sure that your culture is breeding in the direction, like I said, you want it to go, and breeding that positivity. It's something every day you have to make sure you do, just like we talked about like the daily habits. I mean, culture's got to be a daily habit.
Yeah, honestly. That's good.
Absolutely.
No doubt. Like the phrase, you have to fight for your culture, has become so cliche now. And people will almost like roll their eye, but it's so true. Like it's still true. And I'm thinking to a game this last year where like super proud of the team we had this season, not because of where we finished and we had some ups and downs throughout, especially with some injuries, but man, they were great. The seniors, especially, great ambassadors for our culture. Oh, yeah. They really, I mean, it was just such a joy to be with them every day. But there were little moments where, like you said, we're in a game and we're beating a team that's not that. They're kind of inferior in a lot of ways, and we're doing good things. But you look down and you either see this or like a blank stare, and that's where it's hard. Like it's hard as a coach because we're already doing the thing that most people say is most important, which is we're winning. But there's more to it than that. And those moments, in my opinion, are moments of where slippage happens. Oh, yeah. So, but just stay intentional and to keep fighting, and you almost have to not care about being annoying with your players, because those moments are really important.
Agreed. No, and like, I mean, just little things. I think the big thing is that we talk about being egoless and stuff like that. Just getting yourself like removing like any type of like insecurity or doubt or any of that stuff, just setting it by the wayside, and going into doing what's best for the program as a whole. Like this year, I mean, this first time year I've ever done this, I'm like, you know what, like trying to add some juice to practice. So myself and one of our assistant coaches, like, we're going to put a practice jersey on and show them like us as old men, we're going to like dress out. So I had my little spandex on. I had the old practice shorts on. I walked in the gym, like, coach, you look like a football player. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. We did like a little war drill. We call it our charge drill to start practice off. But like things like that, not just that, but just anything you can kind of do to show the kids you're a human first, and it's fun. And you want to enjoy it. And so it doesn't have to all be negative. It doesn't have to all be rigid. It can be things to show the human side and show that like we're in this because it's fun. I mean, basketball is trying to win, trying to develop people, but like it's also a sport that's fun. So we should enjoy it, and so letting your guard down and being able to do that type of stuff is huge.
Coach, 39 isn't that young. You're not old yet. I'm 41, but the fact that you can do that, like get out there and still practice, like that's really impressive, man. I thought to myself, if I would do that, How quickly would I lose? Because
Yeah.
there's a little bit of, since I don't like shoot a lot with them
Yeah.
or don't play a
Yeah.
lot, there's a little
No.
mystery. Like they think, man, can't Coach Saman, like
No.
could he really play?
Same.
I would lose the credibility or injure myself super quick. So impressive that you can do that, man.
That's funny. No, well, it's funny because like I said, I do a drill. I won't do the whole practice, but I'll do a drill.
I
Yeah.
used to demonstrate ball handling for years. I mean, at McKinney High School, Coach Watson,
Yes, sir.
I feel like that's why he hired me. Partly was I could really demonstrate some ball handling drills, and now I can demonstrate 5 seconds. I can go super hard and fast for 5, but then I'll stop. They don't know that I'm about to lose the ball or like I'm tired. So I can give them 5 good seconds.
This is great because I'm the same exact way. You know, I gave them one drill then. I mean, over the course of this senior class, I mean, they've been around, you know, since their freshman year. I think they probably seen me shoot the ball maybe 4 or 5 times. Like, and this year, one time we had a very short group, you know, or very small group, small bench and everything. We had like 3 guys hurt. So somebody to jump in for us to do our, you know, our war drill, which is shell, whatever. So we're doing that, and like they need another body. I'm like, well, I'll play offense. I'm not gonna play defense. So I get in there, and I end up going like 3 for 4, and they're like, what? And so I'm like, okay, that was a good day. So I'm done. I'm not doing anymore because tomorrow I won't make a shot. So
you got to know when to retire. Like you got to know, like don't be the guy that plays just one more season, one more. Yeah, that's good. Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.